evening from Washington, D.C., and thank you to those of you joining us from around the world for news from a Catholic perspective. I'm Lauren Ashburn. President Trump tells our White House team that Mexico is trying to keep migrants from crossing into America so he doesn't have to close the border. He threatened to shut it down after hundreds of people tried to rush across the line near San Diego. U.S. agents responded with tear gas, and now the president is renewing his demand for border wall funding. White House correspondent Mark Irons reports. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, Lauren. I asked President Trump if he has reached a deal with Mexico to hold migrants in place. The incoming Mexican government had previously denied an agreement to detain U.S. asylum seekers was made. But one thing is certain. President Trump says this group of migrants won't be allowed inside the U.S.
Have you reached a deal with Mexico to hold migrants at the border?
Well, Mexico wants to see if they can get it straightened out. But we've, during certain times, as you know, closed the border. They're not coming into the United States. They will not be coming into our country.
But hundreds of migrants tried on Sunday. Migrants pushed past Mexican authorities in Tijuana, just south of San Diego, before U.S. Customs and Border agents respond.
The group immediately started throwing rocks and debris at our agents, taunting the agents. And once our agents were assaulted, and the numbers started growing. We had, 2 or 3 agents at a time initially facing hundreds of people at a time.
The U.S. fired tear gas across the border into Mexico and arrested nearly 70 people who crossed into the U.S. The border crossing at San Isidro, one of the busiest in the country, was locked down for most of the day. Today, President Trump is demanding more action from neighboring government officials. He tweets, Mexico should move the flag-waving migrants, many of whom are stone-cold criminals, back to their countries. Do it by plane, do it by bus, do it any way you want, but they are not coming into the USA. We will close the border permanently if need be. Congress, fund the wall. Mexico says it has sent more than 10,000 Central Americans back to their countries of origin since late October. Almost 2,000 of them members of recent caravans. But a sports complex in Tijuana is serving as a temporary campground for thousands more who have traveled through Mexico in hopes of reaching the U.S. This woman from Honduras says she can't tolerate the violence in her country anymore. The Catholic Church teaches that people have the right to migrate to protect their lives and families, while a country has the right to regulate its borders. Bill Canny, the executive director of Migration and Refugee Services at the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, says he's sad that force had to be used at yesterday's clash along the border. He says he's most interested in the well-being of those fleeing violence, persecution, and severe economic deprivation. He expects that U.S. laws will be respected. Lauren?
Mark, President Trump also made news today when he spoke out about climate change. Tell us why his comments are so controversial.
That's right. The president did not deny climate change itself, but he did challenge the conclusion of a comprehensive report. He denies that climate change will have a huge economic impact. Now, Senator Bernie Sanders immediately shot back, calling Trump's skepticism an international embarrassment and incredibly dangerous. Sanders says we need bold action, not denials. Lauren?
White House correspondent Mark Irons. Thank you, Mark.